And I believe we're live. Welcome, everybody, to Tuesday night on the inaugural The Fabulous Beer Show, or whatever we're going to call this podcast. I'm your host, Brainmuffin, also known by many other names, but it doesn't matter. Joining me tonight is Afro.Beer.Chick from Twitter. Say hello.
Hey, everybody. How you going?
So here's the idea, folks. We're going to try and do a live of 2 beers each. And if it doesn't go too long, then, maybe people will join. This is an idea that I've had for a while and never could get quite squared away. So a lot of people kind of know my story, and I'll get into my story in a minute. So what brought you to this point because you review beers on Twitter and on your own website, correct?
Yes. Oh my God, it's been a pretty long journey. So I've been around in the beer industry in and out since about 2012. And I kind of had to step back for a minute, but now I'm back. I've been doing Afro.Beer.Chick for almost 2 strong years now, so I'm really excited about that. And recently, I had started doing the beer reviews on Twitter, and then life kind of got in the way. But so now I'm looking forward to getting back into that because apparently I had some pretty good feedback. Because most of my reviews were while I was highly intoxicated. So apparently.
I don't know anything about that.
So apparently I was a little comical as I was doing my reviews. So right now I'm actually sober because I got home from work not too long ago. So yeah. So
yep.
This is my most sober beer review.
And if I was looking like I was looking away, I forgot to put your website link in the description. So now in the description should be your Twitter and your website and my Twitter. So I'm Brainmuffin on Twitter. So my path is, as a lot of things, starts more than 2 decades ago. But I grew up an Army brat, so introduced to beer and stuff, and I never really liked it that much. In the mid 90s, I started, I guess 94. So I started before then, my first apartment. So that would have been 1990. I had a few like Michelob crap and I didn't like it. And I was like, and then a few years later, I was working at the library systems department at the University of Tennessee, and a fellow coworker of mine who was also off and on home brewer started suggesting beers, and I was like, okay. I tried, one after another. I was like, I like these, but they're kind of expensive, and that's how I got into home brewing. And then, trying to clone beers, or I'd have something and like, I'm going to make something like this. Like I had a Pete's Wicked Ale strawberry once, and I was like, I think I could make an imperial version of this, if you will, and I did. And then, and as a lot of home brewers, we don't tend to make the same thing more than once because it's boring. But a few years ago, I had, I got into to YouTube because of some marketing stuff, and the old man's here, right? And he has a podcast, by the way, if anyone's interested, him and a friend of his. And so I've caught it a few times. And anyway, I had been writing beer reviews for a website. His name is going to escape me. It wasn't reviewer.com, but it was something like that. It's not around anymore. And near me, this place called Jungle Jim's had they had beer once a month. They had these beer tastings, and I started going to them. I ran into a couple of former coworkers of mine. I ran into some friends of theirs, and I was doing examiner.com. That's what it was. At least I don't think, maybe it is still around, and it's not like it was, but I would started with reviews of the beers there, right? And so I had notes on every single beer, and I actually started making enough money to cover the cost of the beer tasting. So it was like $25 a month or something. Nothing fantastic, but hey, it's essentially going for free. And then Examiner had some things that went on, and I somehow got dropped out of it. Charles Papazian, the godfather of homebrewing, I guess you could call him. He's the one that got me into that. And because I was on Twitter and different things, and I had a YouTube channel. I had some friends who were like, how come you don't do some video beer reviews? So I did a couple of them, and for a long time it was kind of hit or miss, kind of like you're saying, like do it, go back, did it, and then kind of didn't. And then about 2 years ago, about the same amount of time, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this a little bit more regularly. So there's over 300 of videos on there. Last year I went crazy. I was doing like 4 a week or something. I mean, for a while it was really ridiculous. So anyway, but that's how I've come to find. I mean, that's how I found you on Twitter, and reviewing beers, and it's just basically following other people. Say who they follow. Okay, what's this person do? What's this? Hey, there's another beer reviewer. You have there's on Facebook. There's a couple of craft beer groups that I belong to, and then there's a guy. What is his name? He goes by like 2 different names. He lives down in Louisiana. Louisiana Beer Reviews is what and he's gotten into whiskey and a bunch of other stuff. And I think he's like I think he retired with disability or something, because I don't think he's much older than I am, but I'm pretty sure he's retired, because I've seen, he'll do live stream 4 or 5 times a day and start about 8:30 in the morning. And as you're saying, by about 3 o'clock, it's like, where is the camera?
Right, exactly.
So, but you were talking about intoxicated. I live streamed. Let's see. Last Friday was my birthday, and then when was Father's Day? 2 weeks before then.
I want to say so. Yeah.
So the Jungle Jim's Beer Fest is the Friday and Saturday of Father's Day weekend, and I was going to the Friday session, and I was going to do a review of one of my home beer brews. So a channel on YouTube called World Class Bullshitters. I kind of came across them about 3 years ago, I guess. And they used to be more local than they are now. Jeff is still local, but the other guys aren't. Dion's up somewhere in central Michigan. I don't know. He's in the Lower Peninsula. He's like, for those of you who know Michigan, he's like here, I think. Something like that. But so they hit 100,000 subs. I did a beer last year for them when they hit 50,000, and then I was thinking about doing one when they hit 100, but I wasn't really sure. I hadn't heard from them in a while, and they mentioned it on their podcast, on their one of their episodes. They do live streams on Thursdays, and I was like, yeah, I could make one. So I did. Now, unfortunately, we all went to Chicago Star Wars Celebration, and it was not ready because of the complexity of the hops. I needed more secondary. I would love to be able to send you a bottle, and maybe I can figure out somehow, because that would be something too, to get some good feedback from someone. I mean, it's one thing for people who like beer, but people who are, rating it and stuff, they have a little bit different palate. So, I did do some beer. Have you ever done any beer judging?
I have not yet. I have been asked to do an event this summer, but I have not yet officially done it. So this will be my very first time. Basically, just a home brewing, small home brewing event. Yeah. So
are you doing it as a guest judge or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So because you haven't taken any classes or anything, right?
No, I actually I've been interested in doing like the Cicerone class, and then I've been suggested to do like the beer judging class. So I've been trying to weed out like what's the difference between one over the other, because you get so many different opinions. So once I get through this summer, because like right now I'm gearing up for Fresh Fest, and that has been a lot, trying to get the inventory, and then trying to get the kid ready for high school. There's just a lot going on right now. Once I get everything situated, and then I'm going to focus on trying to figure out which class on it.
Well, I thought that's the Cicerone, something like that. I thought that was more making beer than it was judging, but I'm not. Maybe it's both. I don't know. Or is it 2 parts?
Right. You know what? You have the serving portion, and then you have like the breakdown of beer, which for me, I'm not really doing it as far as, because I'm not about to become a brewer. I'm not going to lie to you guys and say, oh, I'm about to serve, because I'd rather drink beer than anything. Yeah. But I do want to learn more from my own personal knowledge. And then apparently there's a whole separate course for judging. Yep. So I'm not exactly sure what that entails, but for some people say it's a very good certification to have as well.
Yeah, let's see if I can see if it'll come up. So on my phone, and it's way too bright. But anyway, I have the beer judging competition, the BJCP style app. I have the 2015. I used to have, I think, the 2014. They do change the categories, but I have an iPhone. I think they have the app for Android too. This is a good way to start learning. I haven't had the time yet, but if you can find a local homebrew club, that quite often they do them, and usually it's like $100, $150, and most of that's going to cover the beer that you're going to have every week, because they basically what they do is they have several beers that you'll do a couple different styles once a week, and there'll be certain beers that are basically dead on, right? They're not, it's an IPA to
Mhm.
style. It's not overly hoppy or overly malty, or it's not 9% alcohol and it's supposed to be 6 or something like that. And those really help kind of evaluate your palate, and okay, I know what those expectations are. Yeah, I did. It's been several years ago, but I did do a judging. I did Belgian specialty, I forget, or Belgian strong. But basically, they had this huge notebook. I don't know, about yay big,
Mhm.
and I opened it up, and I was doing the beer I was doing was like one column on that page, and I was like, this is crazy. And so because I did pictures and was a steward of a table for the first half, and then somebody had to leave, and then I took over as a judge, I forget what they call it. And because basically they pair you with someone who is certified, so if there's ever any
Mhm.
questions about what you're brewing, usually, especially this
Mhm.
case, it's they do it every year. It's called, I don't know what it's called, but it's in October.
Mhm.
And I used to be more involved with the local stuff, and I just don't have the time anymore. But
Okay.
there was a brewery, I think it was Listerman, is it Listerman's or Mount Carmel in Cincinnati, that was sponsoring it. And so whoever won best of show, that person got to make their beer. And then at the next Cincinnati Winter Beer Fest, which is in February,
Mhm.
they get to have like 6 kegs or something. But that beer is then there. And they also do a
Okay.
collaboration now. Sorry, my eyes are itching. I don't know why. But no, I found a lot of fun, and it was all. I actually learned a lot just listening to, because that was the other thing, is when it got down to the best of show, there were 4 judges that were doing, and one of those 4 was the guy I had been partnered with for like 2.5 hours. And so I asked, hey, can I just sit over here close enough to listen, but not close enough to be an annoyance? And
Right.
and they went through, and they were, and it is amazing, because they came back, because one of the beers that he and I had, we judged it very highly, and it actually ended up winning best in show. But when it came back around, it had a different, and it was like a tiny, tiny little bit left. And but homebrewers
Mhm.
all over the place were sending beer to this thing, and it was amazing the stuff they would pick out. And I'm like, wait a minute, I had that beer. I didn't get X, Y, or Z. It's like I like it,
Right.
but so yeah, I that's one thing I've been wanting to do for a while. And if I can, now that my kids are starting to move out of the house, maybe I can find some more time and do
Isn't
that.
that a great feeling?
Yeah, one's moved out, and the other one, I don't know what he wants to do with his life. But at very least, going through the style guide, because when I make a beer, sometimes I start with the style guideline. Like, I'll load up
Mhm.
Beersmith, and I'm like, I want to do a brown ale that's to style, and I don't want to waver at all. And but I might choose different hops to put in it than I did previously. So anyway,
Mhm.
I am building up a thirst with all this talking. So unless you want to have anything else you want to say, do you want to get to the first beer?
Sure, sure.
All right.
So tonight, my first beer is from Tapistry Brewing, and they're in, let's see, Michigan. Now, this is the very first time I've ever had this beer, and honestly, to be honest with you, this is the very first time I've even heard of this brewery. So this is really new to me all together. So this is called Northern Trippin, and this is a New England style IPA. And let's see here. First, in my trusty Afro.Beer.Chick glass. It's light. Um, and let me stress this when I always do my reviews. If any breweries or if the breweries watching themselves, please do not get offended at what I may say. I'm giving my honest opinion. I was never paid to do a review, so this is an honest opinion. I may not like one style, but I may like something else from you guys. This is really light for me. If I was sitting on the beach, this would be okay. I was hoping for a little bit more flavor than this.
All right. So what do you mean
Um,
by light? What does that mean to you?
I'm not getting much flavor with this beer at all.
Okay.
At all. Like, um,
Now, is it
I
cloudy?
don't really. No, it's not cloudy at all.
Yeah, it should be cloudy. If it's a New England
Yeah,
IPA, it should be
yeah, it
cloudy.
should be. I'm not getting any type of haze. I'm not getting it's to me it's just like a IPA, a very light IPA. I'm not getting that New England style.
So you're
And
not
I
getting the
grabbed it.
juiciness, right?
I don't taste any juice, so
Well, okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little disappointed with this one.
All right. Yeah, as we do these, I'm going to try and keep the description. You know what? I I forgot to do two things. Keep talking, and I'm gonna retweet
Okay.
our. We should have a live link now, and I'm gonna see if anybody's in the chat. But yeah, as we do these, yes, we have Logan Michael. Looks like Logan Michael anti Funko Pops.
Hi guys.
Looks like he might be here still. There, I don't know.
Hello to
He hangs
anybody
out
who's
on
joined.
EVF's
Okay.
channel. He's a member of the. Yeah, here's what's very strange. Well, I went to the Tapistry Brewing. They really need to work on their website. It's okay. So I had to click a completely different way. I'm trying to find that beer. I want to link directly to it, but I found the what's on tap. I think that's in there. Yeah, it's not northern. It's northern, right? Northern Trippin.
Well,
right?
yeah, Northern Trippin is the name of this
and
beer.
that's no G on the end of that, right?
No.
Okay, just an apostrophe. As we say it in the Midwest, as we drop our G's. Yeah, all right. I went to their tap page because I actually found it, but I don't find it under their beers. What's on tap? Mainstays. Because I think these are what's local in the brewery. I mean, in their tap room. But combined artistry and chemistry. Yeah, their website leaves a lot to be desired, and the default icon is like the old default icon for front page, which is kind of weird. But let me tweet this out. So are live. I am live. Yep. That's if I could spell, it would really be a helpful thing. I'm trying to reach around two different things to type on my keyboard. So yeah, it sounds like it's a bit of a disappointment, and I can understand that. I have had, but the thing is there have been a couple of things that are, and the dogs are barking. I'm trying to get, there we go. I'm drinking my beer on tap. I've had a couple with that. Yeah, that will say that, the New England IPA, and it's just like you describe. It's just nice, light flavor,
look at this,
but not much juiciness, and just kind of there.
When you pour it, hold on, as it settles, I'm gonna pour the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's gonna pour just like a regular IPA.
It even has the coloring of an IPA, a regular IPA.
Exactly. Like I want that. If I'm looking at the can and you telling me it's a New England, I'm going to expect that haze. I'm going to expect juice. I'm going to expect to taste some type of fruit or citrus flavor. I taste none of that. So
it looks too more. It looks actually it has too much caramel malt in it. It should be a little bit lighter in color, closer to yellow, more of an SRM of 2. That looks like a 6. SRM for anyone trying to keep score at home is because brewing beer isn't confusing enough. There are 2 different scales for coloring of beer. So you have SRM is the beer itself, and then you have Lovebund, which is the grains. So don't ask me why, but about a 300 Lovebund is pretty dark roasted malt. The crystal malt in use there probably should be about a 10 if they're using crystal. Now, if they're, that's a home brewer. A real brewer, the way you normally make it is as the malt comes off of the grains, you have the kettle very, very hot. So here in Cincinnati, where I live, the Rivertown Brewing, which actually is, I guess technically has moved a little bit more north, but Jason, that's how he does it. He has this big, he does it well, when he makes it. The problem is now they've gotten so many sours, he doesn't really make all that old stuff anymore. But that's how they did. They got the copper kettle really freaking hot, and then it caramelizes as it runs off. I cheat and use a caramelized malt. So, all right, I'll get on to my first beer and I'll stop talking. I could talk for the next 2 hours on grains alone. So this is Taft Ale House downtown, well, technically over the Rhine. It is a converted church. There's several converted churches down there. I think they did a very good job internally. So I don't know where they actually brew for distribution. I don't think it's on premises. I'm trying to read. I don't have my glasses on because then I couldn't see anything. Yeah, I've reached the age. Well, I did about 5 years ago. Reached the age where my glasses are great for anything further away than arm's length. Anything closer, I can't see it. Vast majority of the time, I just need magnification. And here comes two of the three dogs. Oh, the two brothers that are playing. So this is citrus IPA, and there is citrus right on the nose. Wow, that is very citrusy. Now this has the coloring I would expect. I don't know if it's supposed to be in New England. It does not say. Whoa. Untapped lists it as fruit beer, which is dead wrong. This is not a fruit beer. And well, unless they put lemons. Ooh, wait a minute. Just getting that a little bit off the can. I bet you they put actual lemon peel in here. It doesn't say. Oh wait. Oh God bless America. Fermented with yuzu. Oh, that's a fruit. So yeah, anybody that listens to my podcast, especially on Friday nights with the fan cast, they're used to hearing my dogs either barking or when they're quiet, it's worse because then they're under my desk and then somewhere around they start farting. It's great. Yeah, I saw one of your dogs earlier, so I know you know what it's like.
Yeah.
So the yuzu, I think, is I'm gonna have to look that up. I believe that is a tropical fruit. I've heard of it before, but I just can't remember. Sometimes DuckDuckGo just isn't very good at finding stuff. Yes, it's a citrus Junus from it's Japan. It's a citrus fruit and plant. I'm not going to try and read the Latin. UJ in Korean. So yes, it looks like a lemon. It looks like it has a thicker skin. But it's kind of crinkly like a small grapefruit. Yellow or green. And blah, blah, blah. I'll link to it in the description so other people can read it. It's the dog's bark. So let's see if the aroma holds to the taste. And apparently the third dog was under my desk at my feet the whole time because now he's investigating the other thing. Yeah, we have Twitter. Actually, I put pictures, all three of them, this morning or yesterday. I can't remember. I'm about to strangle myself here. We have two of them are brothers, but they're about a year apart, but they have the same mother and father.
Okay.
And then the other one's a stray dog that someone found that took attachment to my son about 6 years ago. Go ahead.
Did I lose you by any chance? I don't know what. Can you see me? I'm sorry.
No, I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with the video as of right now, but I can hear everything you're saying.
All right.
Okay.
I know. Well, before it, when I was getting stuff, I saw your avatar show up, and then I just figured you turn your camera off, but then it came back.
No, I don't know if it's something with the Hangouts app, but yeah, it's acting up. But I'm hearing everything you say. We can continue.
All right. So you'll have to describe your next beer in detail so we can see it in our mind's eye. But this has a nice kind of a gold. It's hard. I don't have enough light down here, unfortunately. It's not as dark as it's showing up, at least what I see on the screen. It's more yellow. But and of course it's carbonated. There we go. No, what? There, you were there for like 2 seconds.
There we go. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. So is it a yay or is it a nay for you? Or?
This is a good one. Now, this, it could be a little cloudier, okay? Because it is relatively cloudy. But this is what I think, closer to what I think of a New England than the one you got. And the fruit gives it an interesting bitterness. I think they actually use the rind because it's very late. It's very late, but it's in the front of the mouth as opposed to sometimes you get a bitterness. It's really late. And it's way back there in the back of the throat. But this is more like as you exhale, and it's like right just inside the teeth. If that makes any sense. Like you bit into it. Like if you bit into it and the rind would be just inside your teeth on your tongue, and that's where the bitterness is.
I'm
So
a
it's
little jealous you got more flavor than I did.
Do what?
I'm a little jealous you got more flavor than I did.
Yeah. So, but I'm going to check. They say it's too bright. So on Untapped, I'm also known as Brainmuffin. So anybody who wants to, so I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. I like this one. And I don't know if I need anything with it. It almost feels like a beer that should be enjoyed, chatting with friends, watching the sun go down kind of thing when it's hot and humid like it is here today. So where it was 92 degrees, but it felt like almost 100 because it was 40% humidity or 50, whatever.
Yes.
We were supposed to get storms, right? We were supposed to get in storms this afternoon, and it got cloudy and thundered, and they just went off. Nothing.
Well, I must be here. It's starting here.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to be quiet and let you do your next one, and I'm going to finish this one off.
My next beer is from Unibroue. This is the Trois Pistoles. This is a Belgian style dark ale. And I'm going to give it a pour up in a fresh glass.
Do you know what
nice and dark.
Do you know what Trois Pistoles means?
No, what does it mean?
You see on the bottle, there's 3 not spears, but steeple type.
Yes.
That's what it means. It does not mean pistols as in guns. It means that part of it's like a church or something. I mean, I haven't had that in many years, but that's what it actually means. I went to a Unibroue beer tasting several years ago. That's all I know.
I had this one yesterday for the first time on the beach. It was kind of killing some time. So, and this is very interesting. So I decided, okay, go ahead. I'm going to make this one of the beers we're going to review tonight. It's 9% ABV. And let's see here.
All right.
I actually like this one. This one is what a Belgian dark ale should be. I'm tasting flavor. I love the body of it. I love the smell of it. I would give this one a 4 out of 5. I love the flavor of it. I love that it's not super heavy. But then, what's for me, Belgians is really what got me into drinking craft beer, because Sophie, which is a Belgian ale from Goose Island, Chicago's oldest brewery, is the one that was my very first craft beer ever, and it was a Belgian. And for the first couple of years of me drinking beer, I wanted nothing but Belgians. And then, of course, as time passed on, my palate began to change. And it's mighty funny that this is probably like the first Belgian I've had in quite a few years. Because lately I've been all about stouts and New Englands and double IPA.
You don't mess around then. Double IPAs and stouts and that's good.
So I do enjoy this one. I'm glad he picked this one up. So shouts out to Unibroue. Had to redeem my beer review for tonight.
The beer that I made for the 50K was supposed to be more of a brown. I actually made what I'm calling a Belgian brown porter. I got two badges on Untapped for that check-in. It's just I made a little bit of malt complexity, and I made a little bit more in the hop complexity. That's why secondary took so long. But I used a dry yeast on that Belgian yeast. That even the homebrew store where I got it, the guy said, "Well, we just got these and no one's used it yet, but it worked fantastically." What it didn't have is the I quite often use a golden ale yeast, because with those darker malts, I'll get dark fruit flavors. But the yeast I used is more like for what you're drinking, where the malty, you probably get if you get any fruit flavors at all, should be very mellow, very just hint of stuff. Whereas if you have like a Belgian golden ale, you get all these different, depends on the grains and other things, but you can get apricot and sometimes cherry, banana, some florals, and it's all from the yeast. It's not from the hop. It's very interesting. So, but the White Labs Golden Ale yeast is my go-to on that stuff. And the last 2 times I've needed it, no one's had it. So,
Oh wow.
and it's a liquid yeast, and it comes in like a tube, and it's fabulous. And I think that's why, because it's like it's one of those that when it's in, you better be ready or it's going to be gone, because it's one of the
Right.
best golden ale yeast outside of Belgium. I mean, it's
Right.
and now when you use it, you'll get all these sulfur smells coming out of your ferment, and you think, oh my God, my beer's, but that's what it's supposed to do. So it settles out. But yeah, I guess I can go on. But I'm trying to find. So I don't find anything for. I mean, the Taft Ale House. They don't have it listed, but that's kind of typical. I'll put that link in. And let me find that one. Unibroue. Now they're a Canadian brewery, right?
Yes.
So I forget what beers. When they did that tasting several years ago, I mean, it's been 5 years or more. There were several beers that they pulled out of North America. Saying now this drives me nuts about Google. I want the brewery. I don't want the beer advocate page. I want the brewery's page. Because that's what I'm trying to link to. And it's some of their darker beers. That one is still around. I do still see that one, but there are some other ones that I don't see anymore. And they also have one. They did a Megadeth with what's his face from Megadeth, which is actually pretty good. Although it's a very light drinking beer. It's not high in alcohol. I clicked beers. Our beers. Yes. Can you take me to your beer page? No, you're gonna. Oh, God bless America. Sorry, I'm trying not to cuss too much. Trois Pistoles. Yeah, 9%. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And if Google was better at its job, I would have been here a long time ago. So, is there an accent over? I don't think there is. It's not an accent mark over anything.
Let's see. No, I don't see it on the bottle.
No. It's not showing up on the webpage either. So what would you eat anything on that one?
With this one, honestly, I would have a big juicy burger. I would.
All right.
I would have I would have one of the best crab burgers. Like I could see me drinking this, and there's a spot here in Chicago called Coolest Corner, and they have really good burgers. I could see me sitting in the bar, listening to heavy metal music, and drinking this beer, and eating one of their burgers. More than likely, I think they do have the Iron Maiden burger from there is really good. So yeah, this will pair very well with a burger.
All right. Guess who's back? Now that's the smallest dog barking at the middle, the puppy that's only 4 months old. So Kobe's he's the little mutt. Now they're hiding from him under my desk. Go upstairs. I'm not careful. They're going to bite me. My wife called him. All of a sudden, Toby took off up the steps. But yeah, the two brothers, their dad is he's a German Shepherd mix of some sort. So he's huge. He's like 80 pounds, really tall. And he's got this beautiful coloring, and he doesn't look like your typical German Shepherd. And this thing's having no luck. So I'm trying to read the barcode on here while you were talking, but it's one of these shiny ones that it's too much, not enough light down here, and my camera can't pick it up. So I'm gonna have to search while I'm trying to talk. And then the mother I've never met, but she is an Australian Shepherd, so they take after her more on size, thank goodness. And
oh wow.
But yeah, we've gotten 4 of his puppies. 2 of them went to my my sister-in-law. and they live in Richmond, Virginia. So right now those dogs are like hating life. I'm not going out. It's too hot because they have very thick fur. But so Dozer, are the older one we got last year in February, and then there was a second litter on accident. He went on vacation and somebody didn't was supposed to because he wanted to do one more, and so they did that one, and that's how we got a second one that went, because we got two brothers. We kept one, and Dina's, my wife's sister, got one, and then in the summer there was another one. So they fresh squeeze IPA. Oh, I have had this. I didn't think I had. So, and then the last litter was born in February, and they're like a year and a week apart or something like that.
Oh wow!
And that's the thing is there's been a few that have. I would say closer to standard shepherd looking colors, but most of them have been this really interesting mix. So if anybody sees it on Twitter, I posted them, and I posted them to Facebook too. They have a more wolf-like appearance, but they're not nearly as big. And
mine's just a pug mixed with a Jack Russell Terrier, which is a very interesting combination, because when you look at her, she looked like she can be a lab mixed with a pit, but she's not. And she's only 27 pounds, and that's the biggest she's ever going to get. And we adopted her about 2 years ago now. So she's a really good, sweet dog, But she sticks under my daughter more than anything. So she's really my daughter's dog.
Yeah. Well, that's how, my daughter named the first one we had Tobuscus. And we had this really old dog that was a stray. When we lived in Tennessee, we rented a house for my parents. And my wife, I was out. We had some work done on the front porch and on the side. So I was painting this metal pole that we put on the porch to replace the wooden one that was rotted. But I ended up painting it to make it look like it was wood. And my wife was painting the garage door, and she was just sitting down, and this little dog just came up and just sat in her lap. And she's like, and the dog had a flea collar, but nothing else. And we lived not too far off of a relatively busy road, but we had a fenced in backyard. So for a while I was like, okay, because she was kind of getting annoying. We had her back there, and then eventually our dogs needed to go out. We had 3 other ones. We had a pure breed golden retriever who was as dumb as a box of rocks, and 2 other mutt dogs. One was he was a Chow Beagle mix. So that dog was confused. He didn't know what to be. He had a purple tongue, and he would howl at stuff, and you're like, what are you barking? And then the other one was a we think a Sheltie and a American Eskimo mix. We got her from the pound because she was the one that we got when we first got married, and we're in an apartment. She's a great apartment dog. So I introduced this stray, I think she was a Whippet dog, so that they could all go outside and continued painting, and they all got along. And it was like, we'll figure out whose dog this is when we're done. And a car pulled up, and some people got out, and they started to kind of walk across this. We had a really fairly good sized front yard. They got about 5 or 6, and they were looking back where the dogs were. And I thought, oh, this must be the owners. And I was about to ask, when they got about close enough that I could say, can I help you? And they could hear me without me screaming. They turned around, got back in the car, and drove off. And
oh wow,
we had her ever since, and we had her so long. We were in disagreement of how long we had her because she was so old. But Toby, we call him Toby. Tobuscus was, but he similar. He latched on to my son quite well, and man, if you yelled at my son Zach over, especially when he was in middle school and early high school, or tried to discipline him, and Toby didn't like it, he'd come after you.
Oh wow!
It's like, oh, you're gonna chase Zach around? Well, I'm gonna bite you. You had to be careful because he would, and he'd give you, and we're not sure what he is, but he has his terrier head, but he's got really thick neck, and he's like 30 pounds, but he's very small. He's got these little dachshund like legs, but in his chest and everything is real. And you can still, we've had him for at least 7 years. You get a good toy, and you can pick him up and he'll hold on to it. You can swing him. But he scared the dope. We had an old neighbors of ours a couple doors down had a Doberman, and every once in a while she'd get out and she'd come into our yard, and Toby has this really deep bark, He has like
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm saying. He sounds like a yip yip dog. Sometimes he sounds like the size dog he is, and then sometimes he sounds like 100-pound Rottweiler or pit bull or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll roar, I mean, really deep growl, and yeah, that Rottweiler would take off. He's like, I don't even want to see what's on the other side of that. But we do have 2 pit bulls that live behind us, and what's funny is they'll play and play, and then all of a sudden the older one will get annoyed and just, you'd swear you're going to find body parts, but they're just noise. It's just no, but they're really nice dogs. I mean, they're out a lot, and they listen, like if I'm doing yard work or something in the backyard and they start barking, I just tell them to shut up, and they do. Or just throw a dog treat over. Like, oh, okay, that's okay, we'll be quiet. So speaking of which, I'll get to my second one. I'll finish the other one later. So this is a fresh squeeze IPA from Deschutes. You know what? Oh boy. We'll see how good this is. I don't know. Can you read that? Is it?
No, I can't see it.
Okay, let's see if it'll focus. No. This is the problem with buying stuff at Meijer. Best Buy the 6th of March. So we'll see. But
wow.
I will say this. The carbonation's getting to me again. My local Meijer, they have where they have stuff refrigerated, it's always refrigerated. So sometimes, but not always, they have beers that will last a little bit longer because they're refrigerated the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still smells good. I have previously, it's really, really fizzy. I've previously given this a 4 1/4, so we'll see. Very good foam. Very good coloring, actually, too. Yeah, it's a little old. It's still drinkable, but it's a little old because it has a slight funkiness it shouldn't have. I don't think it should have.
Right.
And it's really late. 6.4% alcohol. So do you know what IBUs are?
Yeah.
Okay. Some people, I don't know if you've seen any of my beer reviews of my daughter. She'll go, oh, that's bitter. And I'm like, it's 28 IBUs. No, it's not bitter. Yeah. It's not bad, but it's definitely not fresh squeeze. You can tell it's aged, and it's the bitterness in it is more intense than it should be. But it's still, I mean, when you start with a good beer, and even if you take care of it, even if it is a little old, it still can be quite enjoyable. You start with an okay beer and it's too old, yeah, you might as well dump it. But yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, that makes a very big difference. Like, I just went to a fest on Saturday here in Chicago. Shouts out to the Hot Review for throwing a kick-ass party called Ultra Fresh. So basically, this fest is main focus is trying to get the freshest beer at this fest, and it was, and I could definitely tell a lot of the beers that they had there, I had at home or whenever, but I could definitely tell like the difference between waiting 4 weeks having it compared to having it just delivered what a day before the fest.
Right.
You could really taste that freshness, right. And I really enjoyed that. It's like it gave a whole new taste to the beer. I mean, don't get me wrong, the beer is good, but I try to, when I go shopping for beer, I try to go within the 6 to 8 range. I would not buy a beer over 8 weeks under no circumstances. Right. Like, I would put it down. I don't care if I really want that beer. If it's over 8 weeks, like IPAs, I'm going to stress IPAs. Stouts, I'm not worried about. My IPAs or New Englands, I would not buy over 8 weeks.
Right.
I need it to be fresher than that.
Yeah. Yeah. This one, I neglected to look at the bottom, and because I have been burned by because the problem is that it doesn't turn over enough. Now, Jungle Gyms, which would have been a longer drive home, they do turn over enough. But yeah, I know what you mean. And on things like IPAs or like that, now some of the high grav stouts, like the Dragon's Milk talked about, and I kind of, the annoying thing that Meijer does is they chill all of their Dragon's Milk. That is a beer that'll age. So It's a little boozy when you have it at first because I forget how it's double digit ABV, but it'll age. It'll get more chocolatey as time goes on. It'll go a couple of years if you keep it in the right conditions. So I actually have some beers that I have some Stones that are pretty old, and then your barley wine. Have you ever tried a barley wine?
Yes.
Okay. And some of those really need to age. Some of them, now Stone, I don't think they make anymore. I haven't seen it in a long time. The old Guardian is good fresh, but it's better with a little bit of age on it. But Bigfoot from Sierra Nevada, that stuff it'll about take the enamel off your teeth when it's fresh. It's like, whoa. But you let that age a year or two and it's good. And it'll tone down. And then the I don't know if you've ever had Dogfish had 120-minute IPA.
I have.
Okay. So that is one that is good fresh and will age. And it's interesting to see the coloring changes over a couple of years. It gets a little bit darker. I mean, it gets more kind of more golden than yellow.
Right.
But I'm going to stay with my 4 1/4 on this one because I know this sample is a little bit old and I neglected to check the bottom, and that's my fault. But overall, this is now saying you were talking about having that the Trois Pistoles with a some kind of burger or something. This is a kind of beer that when fresh, especially if it's on draft fresh, this is like cheeseburger with applewood smoked bacon and thick onion bun and all that kind of stuff. Thick cut, as they call it when I growed up in Tennessee, what they call home fries. You get sweet tater home fries, then really good. And that kind of thing. So I don't. Ooh, you know what? Fried okra would be good with it too. Might as well go. I mean, yeah, I grew up in, I spent a lot of time in East Tennessee in my younger years. So my parents grew okra. So I've had okra fresh out of the thing into the frying pan, and that's something else. That's the best way.
Yeah.
Put it in a gumbo. I understand it gets all thick in it, but it's like, nah, if you just light cornmeal, you slice it, egg wash, light cornmeal right in the fryer. Perfect. So anyway. All right. All
right.
So, do you got anything else you want to do, or should we just wrap this up, episode 1 up, and call it a night? Well,
that's right. We can wrap it up. I'm good. I have no more reviews.
All right. So, let me double check. We didn't have a whole lot of chats going on. Yeah, not really. But I'm going to try and come up with some kind of a pretty good thumbnail for this. Maybe some beer symbols or something. I don't know. But kind of let this sink in a little bit. See if it's something you want to do. And how often we want to do this, like every other week, every week, or whatever. It's fine with me. And we'll try, everybody in my listening, we'll try and coordinate a little bit better and maybe even review the same beer.
Right.
And now, especially now that I have a better understanding of your what the things that you like, I like just about all of them, and I get really picky when you start to get into lighter colored beers and pilsners and some of the German beers. I get really, really picky, but I like some of the sours as well, and the Belgian beers are all great. The Abbey ales, quads, and all that, doubles, all that's good stuff too.
Right.
All right. So anything else you want to plug before we head out of here?
Well, just, have the guys check out my website at www.Afro.Beer.Chick.com. I have hoodies, I have t-shirts, and now, guys, I have glassware. So I'm excited. Have t-shirts. So, and, check me out on IG, Afro.Beer.Chick, and on Twitter, Afro.Beer.Chick. There we go.
All right. And after Facebook processes this and all this information's out there, give it a once over and make sure I got it all right. If not, just send me a message and I'll update it. All right.
Sure will.
All right. Thanks for stopping by and being a part or watching on review or whatever of the Fabulous Beer Show, episode 1. I think that's what I'm going to call it until at least I get sick of a better name. I have been your host, Brainmuffin, and with me has been Afro.Beer.Chick. Have a good evening.
Bye. Thank you.